are the rights of teenagers different? It depends on the age. Um, what advice would you give a parent, or what happens in those scenarios? I guess it depends on the crime. I would think. At what point do they become juvenile? At what point do they become adults? And is it after 18? If you could just kind of.
So this is a common-ish issue. So uh, teenagers, for anyone out here who's got teenage children, will know teenagers get in trouble. Now, teenagers do all sorts of things because they're immature, their frontal cortexes haven't developed yet, uh, they're experimenting with life, which means frequently committing things that are crimes or could be construed as crimes.
Okay.
Uh, and they certainly come into contact with law enforcement frequently. Now, obviously, if your kid's a UT student and they're 18, or a University of South Florida student and they're 18, there's not much you can do other than, shake your head and hire a lawyer. Please hire a lawyer.
Yes.
But if your child is a juvenile, you can certainly talk to them, and probably the thing you should say is, please, I'm begging you, don't commit any crimes. I'm begging you not to commit any crimes.
Yeah.
If my kids are watching this, please, don't commit any crimes.
Likewise. Yeah.
However, they have to understand the same thing, the same rule that I said about traffic stops. When they come into contact with law enforcement, they have to be polite, short, and consent to nothing. Now, law enforcement has additional rules that they're supposed to follow when dealing with juveniles, and that's anyone under the age of 18. Uh, they not only have to Mirandize them if they're going to interrogate them, but they also have to go through what's called the Ramirez Factors. Also, they are obligated to attempt to contact an adult parent or guardian.
Okay.
However, their attempt can be, I think the word would be desultory, which is they can make a phone call and no one can answer, and they'll just go on about their business because of what they would say is the exigency of their job.
I see.
But they are obligated to make like sort of a good faith attempt to talk to an adult before questioning a juvenile, although that's depending on the age and maturity of the child. So they go through the Ramirez factors. They ask the child, how old are you? What grade in school have you gotten to? Can you read and write? Determine whether or not the child is a child or a teenager, almost an adult.
Okay.
That being said, tell your kids if you're in trouble and law enforcement wants to question you, be polite, don't get angry, short, consent to nothing. That's it. It's probably the same advice you should give to everybody.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.